Does the printing of Bloodghast in Dredger's Insight in Aetherdrift mean that it's finally time for a Dregeless Dredge deck to take over Pioneer? That's what we're going to find out today. Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition of Much Abrew About Nothing. And this week, we are into Pioneer to play a deck that I've been wanting to build ever since Aetherdrift spoilers showed us that Bloodghast was going to be coming to Pioneer for the first time. So we are heading to Pioneer to play some Pioneer Dregeless Dredge. So let's talk about this deck, what it's trying to do, jump into some games, see the deck in action. So our deck is pretty simple. When we sit down to play a game, we're really looking to mulligan aggressively for a hand that has the cards you're looking at right now. Most of our deck wants to be in the graveyard. These cards put cards into our graveyard. So Stitcher, Spire, Otherworldly Gaze, Cash Grab, Winterbloom Command, Dredger's Insight, all just mill a bunch of cards. So ideally our opening hand's gonna have multiples of these. You know, most of them, they've been around for a while. The most interesting new addition here is Dredger's Insight, which seems built for Dredge, like it's literally in the name of the card, so I figured we might as well try it, but actually, I think this card's kind of busted in Dredge. It's essentially a cash grab. It mills 4, and we get to get an artifact, creature, or land back from our graveyard from the milled cards to our hand. But more importantly, is an enchantment. It sticks on the battlefield, and whenever an artifact or creature leaves our graveyard, we gain a life. And you'll see once we talk about the rest of our deck has tons of creatures going in and out of the graveyard. That's kind of the whole gimmick of this deck. So Dredger's Insight's like a cash grab that if we get it early, it's probably going to gain us like 10 plus life over the course of the game, which is absolutely wild. So that's step number 1. Find these cards to fill the graveyard. Why are we so interested in filling our graveyard? And the answer is we have a ton of cards that come back from our graveyard for free. So Narcomoeba, if we mill it, we get a free 1/1 flyer. It just comes into play. Bloodghast, if we mill it, we make a land drop and it comes back into play. If our opponent's at 10 or less life, it even has haste. Haunted Dead, kind of funny. So if we mill it, we can get it back from the graveyard for 2 mana and discarding 2 cards. And it makes a spirit token. You might think that discarding 2 cards is a downside, but really it's not, because we have so many cards we want in our graveyard. Like, if we have a Bloodghast in hand, we'd rather discard it and get it into play for free than have to spend 2 mana on it. It also combos really well with Prized Amalgam. So Prized Amalgam, a 3-mana 3/3, that when a creature enters from our graveyard, we get it back from our graveyard for free on our next end step tap. So if we get a Narcomoeba, all of our Prized Amalgams come back the next end step. Same with Bloodghast. Haunted Dead really good with it, because if we have Prized Amalgams in hand, we discard them as part of the cost, so they go to the graveyard, and then they see Haunted Dead enter, so they'll all come back into play on our end step. So this is kind of graveyard engine number 1, all these recursive threats. We also have a somewhat related similar plan in Creeping Chill and Silver Smoke Ghoul. So Creeping Chill already just busted in our deck, because if we mill it, we drain our opponent for 3. We have the full 4 copies, so if we mill our entire deck, we have 12 guaranteed damage and 12 guaranteed life gain. Creeping Chill's gaining 3 life also lets us get all our Silver Smoke Ghouls back from the graveyard. If we gained at least 3 life, it comes back into play tapped on our end step, and we can pay 2 and sack it. And this will also, of course, if we get a Silver Smoke, trigger all of our Prized Amalgams. And that's essentially the deck. Mill ourselves, mill these cards, they come back into play for free, and we just have this like infinite board of creatures that can keep attacking even into bad attacks, because if they die, what do we care? They're going to come back next turn anyway. Our last non-land card in the main deck, a single Driven to Despair. And the idea of this is we mill it over, we can Aftermath the Despair side for 2 mana. It gives it all of our creatures menace, and it makes it so if they deal combat damage, our opponent's got to discard a card. The discard mode doesn't really matter. The big deal here is actually the menace mode. So what happens sometimes with this deck is we build this big board of random graveyard creatures. Our opponent also builds a big board. We don't have any removal in our main deck, so it's not like we can kill their stuff. Our opponent's like too afraid to attack because they're going to die in the backswing, so we get into the standoff. Despair is a great way to break the standoff. Just giving everything menace throws off all the blocks, usually lets us get in that last attack to close out the game. Mana base, pretty simple. Fast lands, pathways, shock lands, some basic lands. In the sideboard, there's really 2 cards that matter, which are Paw Patch Formation, Assassin's Trophy. If you decide to play this deck, bring at least some of these cards in pretty much every match. So these cards deal with graveyard hate. The one thing that beats our deck the hardest is a Rest in Peace, or a Ley Line of the Void, or whatever, any sort of graveyard hate, really, really bad news for us. Paw Patch Formation Assassin's Trophy just deal with pretty much all the most important graveyard hate. If our opponent is like a Scavenging Ooze, we bring in a Fatal Push. We have some Thought Seizes, Ley Line of the Void for our opponent's graveyard. Also worth mentioning, Paw Patch really cute in this deck because the draw card Make a Food token is another way that we can gain 3 life, take back all of our Silver Smoke Ghouls. So I'm almost considering moving like 1 or 2 into the main deck, but it's really, really solid in the deck. And that is Dregeless Dredge for Pioneer. That's our bunch of your deck for this week. So let's jump into some games and see just how much value we can get for free out of our graveyard. How good is Dredger's Insight? How big of a deal is Bloodghast? Let's find out. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoy it. And I'll be back in a bit for the wrap up. Need some magic cards? Well, you can snag them from our sponsor, Card Kingdom, over at cardkingdom.com/mtggoldfish. Want to help out the channel? Well, you can snag these super sweet new dice, playmats, tokens, and more over at mtggoldfishmerch.com. Much ado about nothing time. We are doing some dredging in Pioneer this week. I've been meaning to try Pioneer Dredge ever since we got Bloodghast, which is a huge deal for Pioneer Dredge. And then I realized we also got Dredger's Insight, and it literally has Dredge in the name. So we have 2 new cards that we got to try. This hand looks great. What we want in this deck is, when we mulligan, we want things that fill the graveyard and nothing, well, or as few things as possible that we want to be milling. Let's mill a Bloodghast, mill 1 Stitcher Supplier. Keep the second one. Well, Bloodghast number 1, land. Free Bloodghast, Stitcher Supplier, do a little milling. Well, there's a Prized Amalgam. That's a hit. That is a hit. Well, let's pass. We can Otherworldly Gaze. Up the Beanstalk. Well, let's do some gazing. Well, mill the Haunted Dead, another Bloodghast. Keep the Cash Grab. I mean, we're off to a pretty good start. We don't have much power yet, but this has been a really good start of setting up. Well, let's Cash Grab. Grab a land. Well, play the land. Get back a couple Bloodghasts. Bloodghast already proving its worth in this deck. Triple Bloodghast. Prized Amalgam on the way. Opponent down to 17. So what is this deck? Domain Overlords? Could be Enigmatic Incarnation. I guess that's a lot of colors and plays up the Beanstalk. This deck, I feel like, should be really good if we don't get hit by Graveyard Hate. If we get hit by Graveyard Hate, all bets are off. Then we're doing the old cast our Bloodghast and try to beat down. But that's the Dredge life. I also feel like Dredger's Insight might actually be absurd in this deck. The one time I played it in a graveyard deck in Standard, I was like, oh my god, this card's busted. And I feel like this deck is even more set up for it. Opponent, Overlord of the Haunt. What's going to draw a card on the Up the Beanstalk? Wow, they're almost dead though. We might be able to win this turn. If we can mill us some Creeping Chills, I might be able to win. Well, Silver Smoke, ooh, Driven to Despair. Oh, that's actually kind of insane. Our 1 Driven of Despair. Yes, let's play the land untapped. Flashback Despair. Now, every creature makes you discard. So we're going to hit our opponent down to 5. Make our opponent discard most of their hand. Oh, if you don't shut down our graveyard, you're going to have a bad time against this deck. About it. This, oh, Boiler Biggles. Okay, so they're definitely some sort of enchantment Overlord deck. Wow, double Boiler Biggles. What do we got, opponent? Oh, okay, so it is an Enigmatic Incarnation. Opponent, gonna go to combat. Going to sack their Overlord, get a 6. But I don't know if they have a 6 that can beat us. Opponent, Boiler Biggles. Sure. Gonna snipe the Prized Amalgam. Oh, there's Threat. And opponent. We still have lethal and scoops it up. All right, so if you sideboard with this deck, I think you always have to bring in some amount of Paw Patch Formations and Assassin Trophies, depending on the matchup. But those are the cards that get rid of Graveyard Hate, and we're unlikely to win through Graveyard Hate. So we really, really, really got to make sure we can answer Graveyard Hate. So it's really like bring in some Graveyard Hate answers and then just do a little trimming, because we don't have anything we really want to cut. Ooh, all right. That's a Dredger's Insight. All right, let's see how good Dredger's Insight actually is. Wow. All right, Stitcher Supplier is also a very good draw here. Opponent. I mean, this sounds pretty good. We only have one of the things that we want in our library, the Haunted Dead. And that one's even not that bad to have in hand, because casting it for 4, not ideal, but it's also fine. Prized Amalgam, that one we never really want to cast, although it is very good with the Haunted Dead. Well, hit you down to 18. Dredger's Insight. Do a little milling. Get back an island. It's funny with this deck, with Cash Grab and Dredger's Insight, it's almost always correct just to get back a land. Even if you don't want a land, like, it's a land to get Bloodghast back, plus we usually want our creatures in the graveyard anyway. Even more lands. Well, let's grab some cash. And, wow, okay. Well, now the board is coming. Double Prized Amalgam and a Bloodghast, and this is why Bloodghast might make this deck into an actual thing. Because now we get back to Bloodghast. That's going to get back 2 Prized Amalgams. Dredger's Insight going to gain us 3 life this turn. And Dredger's Insight, it's a cash grab. Like, we're playing cash grab in this deck. It's an effect that we want anyway. It really is the Meat Hook Massacre of cash grabs. It just sits out and gains so much life. Like, we gain, what, 4 life that turn? We're up to 24? That's kind of ridiculous. About it. Getting in with the Gobbo. Sure. We'll do a little blocking. That's fine. Do a little milling. Another, or a Haunted Dead. This one in the graveyard. Better than in the hand. Ooh. Elishnorn. That actually makes our life very tough. We do get in some damage here. 5, 6, 7. So our opponent goes to 9. I mean, if our opponent doesn't have a follow-up, maybe we're still okay. So it does say, Elishnorn does say, permanents you control don't trigger, which means creatures entering will still trigger stuff in our graveyard because they're not permanent. So we should still be able to get back to Prized Amalgams, I think. I mean, if they have a bunch of removal in hand, then we're probably just out of luck, but let's just play the land. I think what we want to do, I think this works, right? So this shouldn't stop our Prized Amalgams. I think what we need to do is we can pass the turn. And then we can Haunted Dead, discard the Prized Amalgam, discard the Bloodghast, get back both Prized Amalgams, and maybe we can get a lethal attack, although 2 portable holes is going to make that a little trickier. Well, there goes 2 of our creatures. Opponent gets it. Makes a treasure. Gonna be close, gonna be close, gonna be close. End step. Well, let's Otherworldly Gaze. Oh no, I messed up. Okay, mill. I guess we can keep 1. We still get the death trigger, even if we don't get the ETB. Okay, so this is a good punt to happen here, because it's a good TLDR. TLDR? Not TLDR. PSA. That's the acronym I'm looking for. When it comes to Haunted Dead, the way Prized Amalgam works is it comes back on the next end step after you had something enter from your graveyard. So the mistake we made is, I didn't set a stop on our opponent's second main phase. So now our Prized Amalgams don't come back until our end step, so we won't have them to attack this turn. The good news is we still did not have lethal, even if we had 2 more Prized Amalgams here, so I don't think it cost us. I think we're very likely to lose this game at this point, but worth keeping in mind in the future, you really want to do the Haunted Dead trick on your opponent's second main phase, not their end step most of the time. How do we get out from under this? I guess we cash grab. Do a little milling. I guess we'll take the Stitcher Supplier. It is not as good as it could be. Dredger's Insight has been doing work. I just feel like, this Elishnorn. This Elishnorn's a big issue, because eventually they're going to start playing Overlords and so forth and double triggering. Well, play a stat Stitcher Supplier that'll maybe draw us cards eventually. Get back some Prized Amalgams. I mean, opponents at 5. If they just have nothing... Oh, Leyline Binding. Double trouble. We also still have Creeping Chills, so if we can just mill enough, eventually we can hit the last 2 Creeping Chills and win that way. So we still have a shot, sort of. I wish there was not an Elishnorn out. I didn't even think... Ooh, double... Oh, man. That is the 3rd doubled up removal spell. We had so many permanents, but they are just being eaten away. Pounding gets in, gets it. All right, let's block. Get the Haunted Dead in the graveyard so we can get it back. We draw Silver Smoke Ghoul. Well, let's play the tap land. Yeah, we're kind of locked here, because now they can start Fable and Mirror Breaking or Reflections of Kiki Jikiing There's Skyclave. The big upside to this deck, our creatures kind of suck, right? They're 2-mana 2/2s, 3-mana 3/3. So like by their stats, they're not that strong. The big upside of our deck is, unless you have Graveyard Hate, our creatures are like impossible to deal with. So we just keep smashing you with these bad creatures until eventually you die. Like this, for example. Like, we might as well get in because we want Stitcher Supplier to die, and the Bloodghast comes back anyway. But all this exile-based removal is kind of getting around our deck's biggest strength. Found it. Snipes. Well, yeah, I guess we play a Haunted Dead. We do get a token here, so that's something about it. Opponent's like one good card away from just winning this game. Yeah, all right, that'll work. Overlord of the Boiler Biggles. Double triggers. Snipes are bored, and yeah, I think that's enough. I don't think we can actually come back from this point. Opponent hits us. Boiler Biggles. Well, that's a Dredger's Insight. Okay, double trouble. Double creeping. Oh, right. Even our Dredger's Insight doesn't work against Elish Norn. Right. Well, get him, Silver Smoke. Yeah, I think our opponent got that one locked up. Let's run it back and dodge the Elish Norns. All right, on to game number 3. We are doing some Dredgeless Pioneer Dredging. In this hand, ooh, I love this hand. So the Prized Amalgam we want in the graveyard, everything else we want in hand, and we got a Paw Patch if our opponent does have like a Rest in Peace, which, considering their Enigmatic, wow, triple land. Well, mill 1, mill 2. What color do we want? Yeah, let's keep the Blooming Marsh. I think we want to keep one of the fast lands. Play the land, and, well, Dredger's Insight time. Got to get it down before the Elish Norn stops it. Okay. We get back a Stitcher Supplier. We mill an Archamoeba and a Bloodghast for next turn. Yeah, having extra lands in hand is not bad with this deck because of the Bloodghast. Okay. All right, there's a Rest in Peace. So we gain a life, we lose our Bloodghast. Thankfully, we came prepared. We do have to take a turn off to do this, but we are just going to blow up this Rest in Peace super quick and get down a Stitcher Supplier, start filling our graveyard again. Also, Dredger's Insight. So the main upside of Dredger's Insight is just it gains a lot of life, which is nice against aggro decks or whatever. Overlord of the Hallwoods. It also can theoretically gain enough life to get back our Silver Smotes, which is cute. Another one. Let's 1, 2. Yeah, let's do some cash grabbing. Ooh. Wait, we don't want any of these. Okay. Cash grab mill 4. We will take 0. We will take 0 cards. Narcomoeba. That comes back for free. Creepy Chill. Hit ya. That's going to trigger the Silver Smotes. We also trigger the Prized Amalgam. Hit ya down to 14. Pass the turn. Get back 6 free power. Gain a couple more life. Up to 29. I mean, they need like a sweeper, really. Come on, not Elish Norn. We don't have an answer to Elish Norn. We can deal with an enchantment. We could even deal with, honestly, another Rest in Peace if we had to. We'd rather not, but we could deal with a Rest in Peace if we had to. Leyline Binding, that is perfectly acceptable. Opponent. Wow, just gonna bind a Narcomoeba? Oh, okay. They're just trying to set up an Imac Incarnation to sack it and get a 7. Good thing we drew 2 Paw Patch recruits. Or Paw Patch formations. That's the other one. All right, blow up the Imac Incarnation. And that's kind of a wasted ley line now. Opponent, Udin Pens. I am not above hardcasting a Prized Amalgam, but it's so much better with this Haunted Dead. I think we just have lethal now. Even if our opponent has a Wrath here, I think we still have lethal. Because we can do the Haunted Dead to get back 2 Prized Amalgams. And this time, we have set a stop during our opponent's second main phase. We have learned. Actually, I already knew that. I just kind of forgot because it's been a long time since I played with Haunted Dead. But about it. Fable the Mirror Breaker. I do not think that is going to break us today. About it. Passing, well, double Prized Amalgam. Second main phase this time. Discard them. Get the Haunted Dead. Mega Spirit. I mean, this is, even if they have a Leyline Binding, I believe they're dead. Even if they had double Leyline Binding, I think they're dead. Like, they actually had a Rest in Peace this time, and we beat a Rest in Peace, which is kind of impressive. Thankfully, kind of hilariously, the Rest in Peace almost came down too quickly for our opponent. Because they played it on turn 2 when our graveyard wasn't full, which is how I think you should play it. But that meant we didn't lose that much. So then once we answered it, we were able to just easily rebuild. Well, up to 32. Well, I guess we might as well cast another Creeping Chill too. Found it. Down to 1. Swing out. And we dredged them. We dredge them. Well, so far so good. Let's just keep doing that. Ooh, we might actually get out of Platinum too. It is much Abrew about nothing time. We're doing some, wow, that's a 0 lander. I mean, this deck mulligans a ton. Okay, 2 0 landers. I mean, thankfully this deck mulligans a ton and it mulligans well. Narcomoeba, and let's see, do we want the land or the Haunted Dead? Let's go Haunted Dead bottom. Now play the land and Stitcher Supplier. Start the milling. Opponent seems to be some sort of, wow, is that 2 Creeping Chills? 2 Creeping Chills and a Bloodghast? All right, well, I am glad we milled those. Opponent. Now, we just hit our opponent for 6 here on turn 1 and also gain 6. And we have a Bloodghast that's coming back. So the thing about this deck, do not be worried about going down to like 5 cards. Like with this deck, 5 cards that can fill the graveyard and not having a bunch of prized amalgams and Creeping Chills and Narcomoebas in hand, way better than 7 random cards. Well, do a little milling. All right, I mean, play the land, get the Bloodghast. We found a prized amalgam. That's gonna come. What? What? Main deck graveyard hate. Okay, Cling to Dust snipes the Bloodghast, which stops the amalgam from coming back, and that actually changes things. Now we're on the Stitcher Supplier beatdown plan. Get him, Stitcher Supplier. And our opponent gain life on that. My goodness, about it. Gonna do a little verging. Wow, Sultai Yorion. What is this deck? What is Sultai? Oh no, that's another land. Well, get in hit. We really just need any of our graveyard filling cards. We would give anything for a Dredger's Insight or a cash grab. Even another Stitcher Supplier. Found a tap land. I mean, eventually they can Cling to Dust again, but remember they have to escape it. So they also need a bunch of cards in the graveyard if that's their plan. So is this like Sultai Control Yarion? All right, Otherworldly Gaze is actually pretty good. Well, let's do a little gaze in. Oh, that's awkward. Well, we're definitely milling 2 prized amalgams, and I think also, sadly, the Dredger's Insight. I'd really love to just hit like a Narcomoeba here. Well, that is a Narcomoeba here, and we get a cash grab for next turn. Okay, that is kind of excellent. So, Narcomoeba comes into play, and it's gonna bring along 9 power of prized amalgams, which means I think we are suddenly presenting lethal next turn. I mean, we got off to a slow start, but unless you lock down our graveyard, we will do things like this eventually. An opponent can't beat it, scoops it up, and wow, our opponent even had the Cling to Dust, and it wasn't enough. We gotta bring in a couple of answers just in case. Bring in the Assassin's Trophies just to make sure we have a way to get out from under like a Leyline of the Void, let's say, in this matchup. Do you have a Leyline opponent? Let's see what graveyard hate. Sultai, wow, this is, I mean, about as good as a hand gets. 4 ways to fill the graveyard, 2 Dredger's Insights, and then the Haunted Dead we don't really want, but it's okay to keep like 1 or 2. Like, you're not often gonna have a hand that is all Otherworldly Gazes and Dredger's Insights and Stitcher Suppliers. You're gonna probably have to keep, ooh. Wow, that actually hurts. Test of Talents to get rid of all of our Otherworldly Gazes, and we have another one in hand. That is actually, more Haunted Deads. All right. Well, the good news is we also have Dredger's Insights. Many Dredger's Insights. Do a little milling. I think we take Stitcher Supplier here. A little bit greedy since we don't have land number 3. But in theory, we can cash grab for a land into Stitcher Supplier. At least that's a little Creeping Chill. That is one of the awkward parts about playing this deck, is we do occasionally just draw things that we really don't want to draw, like Creeping Chill. Opponent saw it coming. Okay. I mean, opponent's definitely a counterspell believer. I will give them that. I haven't seen a saw it coming since Kaldheim Standard. Wow, opponent taps out, grabs a Yaria, and we draw a Narcomoeba. Well, cash grab. Wow, double prized amalgam. We will grab a land and play the land, do a little Stitcher's Supplying, and do a little milling. Oh boy, we're close. We need anything to come back from the graveyard, and this hand just pops off. Opponent passes. Well, I guess we can get in for 2, and then I guess we're hardcasting Haunted Deads. We actually just want it to die so we can get it back from the graveyard. And opponent doesn't hit their lands and scoops it up. And ranking up. Sweet, 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 sweet. We are playing... Oh my god, that hand's horrible. This hand is all things that we want to be in our library. We are playing... Wow, that is equally bad. Yeah, we can't keep that. Well, this is also not good, but at least we have a Stitcher Supplier, which is something. We really want, so we need the graveyard fillers, not just because we're a dredge deck and we want our stuff in the graveyard, but they also kind of snowball into each other. Like once you otherworldly gaze, you mill another one, and they kind of feed off each other in a weird way. So the first couple are the most important. Yeah, I think we go Prized Amalgam, Bloodghast to the bottom, and all right, in Stitcher Supplier we trust. Mill us some goodies. Well, okay. Narcomoeba is, I mean, maybe Narcomoeba and Stitcher Supplier can get it done. And a Creeping Chill. Down to 17 is our dear opponent. White mana, White Verge. Thraben Inspector. Well, we draw another land. Yeah, we'll attack with both. We actually would love our opponent just to block this. Well, okay. Opponent does not block the Stitcher Supplier. I do love Thraben Inspector. What is our opponent's deck? Opponent hits us. And, well, tap land, okay. Novice Inspector. Inspector Tribal over there. Well, let's play the untap land, and we will hardcast a Silver Smoke. Get in and hit you. So much, I mean, Silver Smoke's not bad, but it is way better when we get it for free. Much, much more painful when we have to cast it for 3 mana. Oh, okay. An artifact deck of some kind. So they're playing the Thraben Inspectors to make clues because they're artifacts. It's got to be some sort of weird soul artifact deck. That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say affinity, but okay, we know what they're doing now. They're trying to do in soul artifact things. I feel like this shouldn't be a horrible matchup, although this has been the worst draw we've had with this deck. So this actual draw may or may not work, but I mean, I guess it's going to come down to how much graveyard hate do they have in future games. Opponent. I don't know why they're thinking about attacking. It seems, oh, you don't want to trigger the Stitcher Supplier? I guess that kind of makes sense. Well, we do some milling. Otherworldly Gaze is something. Let's play the land untapped. Keep on attacking. I think this is a race game, as weird as that sounds. I think we just have to try to win the race. So we get in. Opponent goes to 10. We can play Haunted Dead. So now we get another flyer. We kind of don't mind jumping with Haunted Dead at some point so we can get it back from the graveyard. Oh, another Ensoul Artifact. Okay, that's a problem. It is going to be much harder to raise with 2 5/5s hitting us every turn. So if we take 10, then we have to block a 5/5 next turn or we die. Yeah, I think we just take it for this turn down to 10. Well, we got a real game. So far, a lot of our games have been like, we're at 35 life, our opponent's at 2. But this one's actually a real game. Actually, you know what? We're going to swing with the Haunted Dead. We got to go max pressure. We got to force blocks. Opponent blocks. And then we can play the Haunted Dead to have more chump blockers. Opponent going to trade off a couple of Inspectors while Haunted Dead number 2. Opponent goes to 6. I really wish they had just drawn 1 Ensoul Artifact. If they had just drawn 1 Ensoul Artifact, we kind of be in an okay position. Although our deck can, like, we need to find some prize amalgams or something. This has been an awkward draw. We've had an awkward draw and our opponent has 2 Ensoul Artifacts. Opponent hits us to 5. Haunted Dead block. Spyglass. Ooh, that's actually very bad for us. That gives our opponent a flying blocker. Our hope was to stay alive just long enough to chip in with these flyers and win. We need some. All right. Bloodghast milled, land milled. We need some better hits than that, though. Bloodghast, as great as it is, Not good on defense. That is the weakness of the Bloodghast. Well, cash grab. So we can chump to stay alive another turn, but then we lose flyers. We needed some prized amalgams. I think. Well, there's one prized amalgam. Ooh, and a driven to despair. Okay. So we get the land, we play the land. We get back the Bloodghast, we gets back the prized amalgam. Prized amalgam is going to be tapped, so it's not playing defense yet. How much can we hit for? Definitely get in with the Bloodghast, because that can't block anyway. Yeah, we're gonna leave blockers back. We cannot take any hits from the 5/5. So right now we're dead to double removal. If we attack with any flyers, then we're dead to a single removal spell, and they get to crack a clue to draw a card. Well, prized amalgam returns. There is a world where maybe... So the other thing that Despair does is gives our team menace. So we don't really care about making our opponent discard, but there could be a world where we get just enough creatures and then menace them up to Alpha Strike, although if our opponent's reading the cards in our graveyard, it's going to be trickier. It's going to be easier if they didn't know about it. Well, we got a double block. We drop to 4. Oh, actually, a Creeping Chill. If we could mill a Creeping Chill, maybe. Oh, Memory Guardian, okay. That's another big flyer. And another blocker. We need, like, to draw, like, a Dredger's Insight or a cash grab. Mill a Creeping Chill to hit for 3. And then Despair for Menace to get in for lethal. So we can play land to get back the Bloodghast. That doesn't do anything. We can Haunted Dead. We get a 1/1. We have to discard both lands so we don't get a Bloodghast. I mean, in theory, we survive one more turn with the Haunted Dead. But I'm not going to crack the glue. We block. Get back Haunted Dead, block. I mean, we're basically just... because we have Creeping Chills in our deck, we're basically just staying alive because our opponent's at 6. So there's always a world where we just draw some sort of self-mill spell, hit 2 Creeping Chills, and just win. Like, that's what we're playing towards at the moment. We're not going to win with creatures this game. Our opponent's built up enough of a board that I don't think we realistically... Okay, Portable Hold, but it's on the top of the deck. That would have killed us outright. All right, deck. Oh, all right, opponent had... They had Portable Hold anyway. All right. Yeah, that actually is lethal. Well, that was a very clunky draw. We almost still pulled it off, though. I'm starting to feel like this is like a 5-card sideboard where... We very rarely bring in Fatal Pushes, Thought Seizes. Leyline there will be. When we run into a graveyard deck, we'll bring in Leyline, but so far we just bring in the stuff that can deal with graveyard hate, and then just like trim a little bit of this. I try not to trim the self-mill stuff. I trim some of the like silver, like trim a Silver Smoke, maybe a Narc Amoeba. I don't know if that's the best technique, but that is my technique for sideboarding, since we need a mixture of like self-mill and stuff to get back. On to game number 2. We are on the play. This hand is horrible. This hand is... Ooh. If this was like a watery grave, maybe we could have kept it, but definitely not with a pathway. All right, this is fine. We can put a, Narc Amoeba prized amalgam back. We got Stitcher Supplier into the cash grab. Not like a busted draw or anything, but it's passable. It's doable. I could see winning with this hand. I actually think... Yeah, let's put back the Silver Smoke. Keep the prized amalgam. If we have to hardcast one, I think prized amalgam's better to hardcast. All right, we mill a Bloodghast, so we get a free 2/1 coming next turn. Oh, bayonet, land. Creeping Chill is always about the worst draw. All of our other stuff, like drawing a prized amalgam or a Silver Smoke, like, we don't really want to spend 3 mana on this, but whatever. Creeping Chill's the one that we really don't want to draw. Well, Dredger's Insight's very good, though. Get back the Narc Amoeba. What do we got, opponent? What do we got? Untap land. Show us a Thraben Inspector. Oh, dear God. All right. Can we draw an Assassin's Trophy? All right, we have reached the classic endgame of a Dredge deck, which is... Our opponent has played a Rest in Peace, and now we get to hardcast prized amalgams. I mean, they're down to 15, and we have, like, 7 power on board? It is not impossible this works. We still have a board here. Okay, Menetician. So technically, Dredger's Insight, we can still get a card, because it gives us a card from among the milled cards, so it kind of works through Graveyard Hate, although The real reason it's in our deck is not to get a card. It's to, oh boy, we really are going to be hard casting surprise amalgams. The real reason it's in our deck isn't to get a card. It's to fill our graveyard. Opponent down to 11. Actually, maybe having this Creeping Chill in hand is good. Like, with the Rest in Peace out, maybe it's good because our opponent doesn't know about it. So we really only need to get our opponent to 3, assuming we draw one more land at some point, and then maybe we get them. The biggest issue here is, and I mentioned this earlier, like, the biggest upside of this deck is even once our opponent builds a board, we can just, like, smash our prize amalgams and Bloodghast into you every turn. Sure, you kill some of our stuff, but what do we care because it just comes back, and we gain a bunch of life with Dredger's Insight. But with a Rest in Peace out, that plan doesn't work. And now our little aggro start. Our opponent's built a wall of defense. I mean, at this point, we could still draw a Paw Patch or a Assassin's Trophy. So we're not dead yet. Oh, sheltered by... Oh, that's actually really bad. Okay. So that undoes pretty much all of our aggro, and we don't believe in removal. So, I mean, I guess we have the Assassin's Trophy, but that's got to hit a Rest in Peace. So we can't kill it. Yeah, that was our hope with this Rest in Peace out, is either, like, get a weird aggro win, hard casting prize amalgams, or draw the Paw Patch. The weird aggro win's not going to work, so now we got to draw the Paw Patch. That's... Excuse me, that's the only... Jeez. Well, okay. Now drawing Paw Patch is no longer an option with 2 Rest in Pieces. And, well, live by the dredge, die by the dredge. Sometimes they got the graveyard hate. Seeing if Bloodghast, new to Pioneer Bloodghast, can help us actually win with Dredge. We're going to keep this hand. This is very borderline. So, Otherworldly Gaze good. Witherbloom Command good. Hopeless Nightmare. Well, we got an Narcomoeba to discard. Narcomoeba Creeping Chill not good in our opening hand. I really like Otherworldly Gaze, though, because that's 2 mill spells for 1. So it should... And Surveilling's actually super powerful, unlike our other mill spells. Overlord of the Bailmerk. It doesn't just mill everything. Instead, we can do things like this, where we mill a couple cards. Actually, maybe we keep the Stitchers. Keep a Dredger's Insight on top for even more milling. I think keeping Stitcher's Supplier is fine. And then we can mill. In worst case, we can get back the Stitcher's Supplier if there's nothing else to do even more milling. Well, play the land. I didn't play Overlord of the Bailmerk in this deck. Maybe we should. I'm not even sure. It'd be fine. I guess it'd be fine. Is it better than Cash Grab? The thing is, we really like getting back lands. I mentioned that before, that like the thing we get back from our graveyard the most is actually not creatures, it's lands in this deck for Bloodghast purposes. So maybe Overlord would not be that great. Disturbing Mirth for our opponent. Gonna sack some Hopeless Nightmares? Sure. So opponent draws 2 and gets to scry 2. So what is our opponent? Rakdos Sack, I guess? It looks like a standard deck with the Crocs in the graveyard, but it looks like a Viper. Shambling Ghast. I love Shambling Ghast. I love those random value 1 drops. Thraben Inspector, Shambling Ghast. Well, let's see. So in Witherbloom Command, yeah, let's just Stitcher Supplier. Wow, double Creeping Chill. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess we'll 6 you. Might as well. And a Silver Smote that's going to come back. 2 Silver Smotes that are going to come back. Oh, this is actually going pretty well. Yeah, let's just drain mode. Witherbloom Command, mill, and I think we just drain you for 2. Also, getting our opponent under 10 gives our Bloodghast haste, which is nice. Wow, triple Silver Smote. Okay. Well, good luck, opponent. Silver Smote gains some life, and Silver Smote gains some life, and Silver Smote gains some life, and you better do something, opponent, because the dredge is coming for you. Souls of the Lost, sacking the Shambling. Kill that Stitcher Supplier. Kill it. Opponent's gonna kill the Silver Smote. That actually makes way more sense. I feel like we're in pretty good shape, though. I feel like we're still in good shape. Final Vengeance. Sacking the Disturbing Mirth. Okay, that's going to actually exile a Silver Smote. Oh, that's kind of good for our opponent. Well, let's upkeep Gaze. Yeah, let's upkeep Gaze. Now, Milieu. Definitely keeping Dredgers in sight. Also worth mentioning, we are at 28 life, so we are nowhere near dying. Well, breeding pool untapped. Bloodghast returns. If you kill our stuff, we don't care, because it's going to come back anyway. Opponent's going to block Stitchers. Nope. Pump fake. Gonna block the Bloodghast. They really... Okay, now they're going to block the Stitcher supplier. So opponent takes 3. We mill some cards. Ooh, Narcomoeba prized amalgam. Oh, wait, can we... I think we can gain enough life with these Dredgers insights to get our silver smotes back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, we're not gonna put Narcomoeba in hand. We will let you go to play. Also, Driven Despair for next turn. We'll gain some life. Here comes the prized amalgams. Waiter. And we're casually at 34 now. Oh, Dredger's Insight's so good. It really is the meat hook massacre of self-mill spells. It just sits out and gains so much life. It's kind of like insane how much life this card gains. I mean, I don't know what to do. This is kind of a demoralizing deck to play against because it just works on such a weird axis that most decks aren't really prepared for, especially with their main deck. And it's just really hard to stop permanently without Graveyard 8. Like, the dorks just keep coming back. They just keep coming back. Opponent even has like multiple exile-based removal spells that most decks would not have access to, and it's still not really mattering. Opponent, Stitcher supplier of their own. So your opponent's definitely a graveyard deck too. We might actually bring in Leyline against him. It might be worth it. I could see Leyline being good here. I mean, okay, claim to get back the Shambling Ghast. Overlord on impends, we draw a land. Wait, do we just have lethal? So if we play Bloodghast, this haste, and then we can Despair for Menace, and our opponent can only block one thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like lethal to me. The one Driven of Despair is really good. I mean, everything in our deck is dependent on the graveyard being accessible, but it's a really nice one-up for situations like this where you've seen a little bit the board sometimes get gummed up because we don't really have removal. Our stuff keeps coming back, and it's like an oddly effective way to get through a board stall. So we're going to bring in the ley lines. We're going to bring in Palm Patch formation for our opponent's ley lines. We're going to go down the Driven to Despair, last game's hero. And then it's hard to bring in this many cards. This is a lot of cards to bring in for this deck. So go down to Haunted Dad, go to the Silver Smoke, go down to Narcomoeba. I don't know what else to cut. Go down the Witherbloom command. And I guess a Stitcher supplier? I really hate cutting the self-mill cards in the deck. I try to not cut self-mill, but if we're going to bring in that many cards, well, yeah, I actually like this hand. This hand's fine. Prized Amalgam would be better in the deck, but double cash grab, Paw Patch, which Paw Patch, even if... Okay, Clockwork Percussionist. Even if our opponent doesn't have like a ley line, which they don't at the moment, it's still going to do something. Like, they have a lot of enchantments. So sniping an Overlord or something is still fine. Plus, it's also kind of cute. Paw Patch, I think, is... Oh, all right, take the prized amalgam, maybe? Come on, Kraken Doug. Take that. All right, opponent takes a... I tried, chat. Opponent gets in, hits us. Another prized amalgam. This might be one of those cast and prized amalgam kind of games. Actually, we just want to mill a Haunted Dad. That would be the best. And then we get them all back for free. Opponent gets in, hits us. And, well, that's cash grab and response. That is a Haunted Dad. And I think that just wins us the game. Especially if our opponent is really, really a one land, one keep believer, which they appear to be one land, one keeping. Relatively confident that this Haunted Dad getting back double prized amalgam next turn is going to be enough. But what I was saying about Paw Patch formation, it's also kind of cute because to the point where I'm almost wondering if it could be main deckable in this deck, because the draw a card, make a food is actually so good in this deck because the food gains 3 life, which is enough to get back the silver smelts. So it's another way that we can get everything back from our graveyard too in a weird way. So I could see playing like one in the main or something. Well, second main phase, Haunted Dead. Pitch the 2 prized amalgams. They see the Haunted Dead coming into play. And here comes the crew. Prized amalgam. Coming back on the end step. Are we killing the Haunted Dead? Exiling the Haunted Dead. Final Vengeance. Final Vengeance actually looks kind of good. Doesn't look bad. I mean, our opponent's problem is we have 7 power and they have 1 land. Smack ya. Down to 6, and opponent scoops it up, and, well, I guess for the better graveyard deck, we are playing some Pioneer Dredge. Seeing if Bloodghast in Dredger's Insight, speak of the vampire, seeing if they're good enough to make Pioneer Dredge a thing. I think we oh boy. We mulliganed into an even worse hand. Okay, this hand's actually fine. Put the pathway to the bottom. This hand's fine. Turn 1 Stitcher Supplier, turn 2 Otherworldly Gaze. We can flash it back at some point. Ooh, not great milling, though. Let's see what our opponent's up to. Schwamp. And, well, at least they're thought seizing something that we can cast from the graveyard. Darkslake Shores. Hit you for 1. Down to 17. So, if you're missing out, oh, is this Rakdos Vampires? Have we reached the end boss? I mean, Rakdos Vampires, I was watching a Nerd Rage Games event a couple weeks ago, and Rakdos Vampires was like 6 of the top 8 decks. It is definitely the #1 deck in Pioneer at the moment, and it's not even especially close. Well, play to the point where, like, bannings could be a thing. I mean, the only problem is I don't know if Wizards cares about Pioneer. There's no big tournaments or anything this year, so I don't know. They always post like, oh, we're going to be way more active with Pioneer, and then like a year go by with no banning. So so I'm not sure if during this year where there's no big like tournament support, how on top of the Pioneer meta they're going to be. Found it. Even more FOMO. Big secret lair fan over there, our opponent. Marcosaurus, secret lair lover. Full of the FOMO, discards a Mutavault. Find us something good. Actually, we just need to fill our graveyard with stuff. Well, okay, that's actually not bad. Yeah, we'll take the Silver Smote. We want the Silver Smote mostly to discard to the Haunted Dead. So we get the Nargamoeba. That will get a prized amalgam. Opponent, gonna do some fatal pushing. Unfortunately, I did not have a stop set this time, so we're not getting our prized amalgam till the next end step. But we did find a Dredger's Insight. Well, let's grab the Silver Smote, play the land, and pass turn. Get back to prized amalgam, gain a life. Dredger's Insight's gonna do a little bit of work here. We'll see if it's enough work, but it's gonna do some work. So we in Haunted Dead get discard the 2 Silver Smotes. But we don't have a way to gain 3 at the moment. Oh, so much fear of missing out. Okay. I mean, once these turn on, it's actually going to be a little awkward. I mean, by themselves, it's not that bad because a single prized amalgam shuts them down. But if they ever find a big creature, opponent, well, we will chump, do a little milling. Stitcher Supplier, very good at dying. That is its main purpose in life, is to die. Oh, we had a Dredger's Insight on top. That's unfortunate. Yeah, let's Haunted Dead. That was my initial impulse. Haunted Dead, discard the Silver Smotes. So we gain a life, we get a body. 2 bodies, actually. And then we can upkeep Gaze. We want a way to gain enough life to get the Silver Smotes back. That would be the best. So milling Creeping Chill's the easiest. Well, how about some Bloodghast? And do we keep this island? So the island gets back the Bloodghast. I don't know if I think we mill it. I don't know if we care about getting them back. They get blocked by the FOMOs. Ooh. Would have rather had the island than the Nargamoeba, honestly. Given the choice, I would have chose island. Well, hit you a little bit. And I think we actually hold on to the Nargamoeba. Opponent gonna go for the throat, the prized amalgam. The reason to hold on to Nargamoeba here is Haunted Dead needs 2 cards to discard to come back. So I think we want to hold on to it to let our Haunted Dead die, and then we can do the Haunted Dead thing, gain some life with Dredger's Insight, get back the prized amalgams. Well, we get rid of 1 FOMO. Well, there's a Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Not bad, not bad. We draw, well, actually, that's a good time to draw a prized amalgam. Yeah, okay, second main phase on our opponent's turn, stop set. Opponent's gonna make a lot of treasures because they can do this FOMO stuff. Yeah, well, I mean, this is what we got. We are gonna have a good opponent's turn. We'll see how painful this is. So just for what, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I think? So again with a FOMO and a Goblin, so that's 4. They untap the Goblin, they make a treasure. Yeah, we can't really stop any of this, so we take 4. Gets in with the other FOMO. Gets in with the Goblin, so that's 8. Untaps. Yeah, that was... I mean, we said a while ago, if they ever turn on the FOMOs, they were going to have a pretty good turn, and I guess this is that turn. Thankfully, we're still at 7, and we still have this Dredger's Insight, which we are also going to have a pretty good turn here. Oh, wait, don't they have one more attack with the Gob? Oh, they're going to leave it on defense. Interesting. Our opponent sees the Haunted Dead shenanigans coming. Ritual Chamber. That's a big flyer. Well, Haunted Dead. Discard, discard. So we get back the Haunted Dead. We make a 1/1. Interesting. So we should get 2 prized amalgams. We gain a little life. Well, I mean, maybe Paw Patch is actually just a main deck card. I'm starting to think it's actually just main deckable. Like, even this Rakdos, this is the best deck in the format. And even this deck, Rakdos Demons, like, they're playing a bunch of enchantments. Like, if we main deck this, it can kill Ritual Chamber, it can kill Fable, it can kill FOMO. Man, we're really good at drawing prized amalgams this game. Awkwardly, this 6/6 is kind of shutting us down. Well, past the turn. We're going to hold on to the prized amalgam again. I think it makes more sense to try to block with the Haunted Dead and discard it and get it back, rather than just casting it here. Plus, stuff coming back from the graveyard gains us Dredger's Insight life, which is kind of relevant. We're not dead here, right? So they attack with the demon, we chump. They FOMO the demon, we chump. Yeah, we're not dead. We're dead next turn if we don't draw something. So the opponent gets in. We will kill a Fear Missing Out and block the demon. Maybe we should have blocked with the Haunted Dead to get it off the battlefield. I want to kill the FOMO, though. Well, all right. Unholy Annex open. Opponent gonna start draining us. Oh, Blooming Marsh. I don't think that's enough. Yeah, we just never got back the Silver Smotes. And now we actually just died to this demon attacking a couple times. Well, bring in the Paw Patches, which seem absolutely insane in this matchup. And there's a reason Rakdos is number 1. Go down an Archamoeba, and I guess a Witherbloom command. Right out like that. On to game number 2, we are on the play, and this hand looks fine. We got the Paw Patch. We can do some milling with the Otherworldly Gaze. Oh, but I'm going to lead on the tap land. Well, let's do a little oh, wow. Huh. Those are all the cards we want stacked together on the top of our deck. Almost too much good stuff. Well, all right. I think we keep them both, and this feels very awkward, but I think we actually just pass. Because I don't really want to just cash grab into the Dredger's Insight. So I think we just wait. Opponent, Fear Missing Out. Ooh. We could snipe that with the Paw Patch. Is that worth it? The problem is if they draw Graveyard Hate, we just get so wrecked. Yeah, let's wait. Let's wait. It's only a 2/3 at the moment. Plus, we're going to start gaining some life. Let's Dredger's Insight. Do a little milling. Those are some pretty good mills. So get back the land. Creeping Chill hits you for 3, which will get back the Silver Smote, which will get back the prized amalgam. And past turn. Opponent land and Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Gonna make a goblin. Well, we get our prized amalgam. Play the land. Wow, opponent's gonna really double block prized amalgam. Okay. I mean, I'm kind of fine with this. We can kill the goblin and it's just gonna come back anyway. That's kind of what we do. Do we Haunted Dead or do we cash grab? Yeah, let's just Haunted Dead. Not the best when we have to cast it, but getting out of the battlefield means it can die, and then we can start getting it back from the graveyard. Opponent discards a couple cards to the Fable of the Mirror Breaker. I was thinking about this because we played the Cave deck on Budget Magic not that long ago. And that deck was pretty sweet and also super cheap. If you didn't see it, you should actually check that deck out because if you like zero rare $30 standard decks that actually work, that is actually surprisingly one that's actually effective. But it got me thinking. I went down this rabbit hole on on YouTube of cave disaster videos. I don't know if you've ever seen cave disaster videos. I don't know how, I don't care anything about spelunking, which I guess is the technical term for exploring caves. I don't know. I know it's to make sure lands come into play on tap, but outside of that, what's otherworldly gaze? Do we keep the paw patch is the question. It kills Fable. It kills, yeah, I think it's worth it. This lets us spend one of our paw patches on a non-graveyard hate spell and still have one for graveyard hate. So great big chill. Get it back. Drain you to 11. Smack you with the dorks. Sure, opponent blocks, but we already know that Silver Smoke's coming back because we already gained 3 life. Well, cash grab. Do a little, see if we can hit some more goodies to come. Wow. The 4 land cash grab. Not actually grabbing that much cash this time. Well, take the Overgrown Tomb. So we get back Silver Smoke, which is going to get back Prized Amalgam. Also, we're at 26. I have been very impressed with Dredger's Insight. It has been very good. But the thing about Cave Disaster YouTube, this rabbit hole I fell down, every one of the videos, it's like, I don't know, it's like, oh, here's this very not smart person who's like, I'm going to go into this very dangerous cave with no supplies. What if I just go and, check out this cave? It's going to be awesome. And then, like, inevitably they get stuck. And the part that blew me away is apparently this is like, there's so many of these videos. How many people end up dying because they get stuck in a cave that they should have never been in the first place? That's the part that blew my mind, that like, this is the thing. This is the thing that apparently has happened, not to like a person or 2 people, but there's like hundreds of these videos that have multiple stories in them of people that just like, pretty much kill themselves with stupidity by going into very dangerous caves unprepared. So yeah, it's kind of a Darwin Awards thing almost. I miss the Darwin Awards. That was, boy, old school internet. I think it's been replaced with Dumbest Ways to Die for Generation Alpha. All this ranting, we're just winning the game here. We're gonna blow up your flyer, and then we're gonna go to combat, and we're gonna smack you. And I think we have this one in the bag. Like, our opponent does not have much going on. They're down to 4. Here comes some more Prized Amalgams. We gain life up to 30. We gain life up to 32. I should have known that Dredger's Insight went in this deck because it's literally in the card name. Like, it's like Wizard said, put me in Dredge, put me in Dredge. They put it right in the title. And it only took me like 2 months to get the, Extinction Events actually. Out of all the Wraths you could play in Pioneer, that is the best against us because of Exiles. Unfortunately for our opponent, I think it's a little bit too late. They're at 4. We have Hasty Bloodghast. Huh? Oh, are they just gonna chip in and then leave it on defense? There's no way you're attacking twice with this, right? That, if you're chipping in and then leaving on defense, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, free damage. Gotta take the free damage. I thought our opponent was actually just attacking us, so I was like, that is just very risky. What are we doing, Marcosaurus? We're keeping up with the monster of the format. The best deck in Pioneer. Play a Bloodghast. And snipe the FOMO, get in for lethal. And, all right, GG. And we're running it back. On to game number 3, no changes. We got the Graveyard 8 in. Can we take down the best deck in Pioneer with Bloodghast Dredger's Insight Dredge? It all comes down to this. Cash grab in a bunch of stuff we really want in our deck. I think we mulligan. I think we still got a mulligan. Okay, this is, we're at 5. I think we keep. This is okay. So we can keep the Bloodghast because we can actually realistically hardcast them. Well, there's a Thought Seize. I imagine they're taking the Gaze. Yeah, well, there's a Paw Patch. Ooh, I don't know. This hand's not very good, especially now that the Gaze got Thought Seize. This might be a problem. Prized Amalgam. Well, land go. We need a really good Otherworldly Gaze here. Blood Tithe Harvester gets in. It's us down to 15. Sure. And wow, who's our opponent? Desperate for land. Wow, they must be if they're discarding Unholy Annex. Wow, opponent misses the land drop. Well, hopefully we will not, thanks to you, Otherworldly Gaze. Okay, we might miss a land drop, but that's kind of fine. Do we want the Stitcher Supplier? Yeah, we're gonna mill them both. We're just gonna keep Dredger's Insight. We get the Narc Amoeba for free. I think we actually want to land here. We don't want a Dredger's Insight into a Stitcher Supplier. We gotta hit a land. So Dredger's Insight. Mill a few cards. Whew, all right, we almost whiffed on lands there, but we found one, and we found another otherworldly gaze, and we get a free Bloodghast, which is gonna drain us some life with the Dredger's Insight. Found it. Torch the tower on the Bloodghast, sure. Found it's down to 17. Power needs to hit some lands, though. Found it. You're not, I don't think, this is where you can see part of the power of Dredger's Insight, where it's going to be very difficult, I think, for our opponent to win the race. Now, we kind of would have liked to just draw literally all these cards. All right, we'll just leave them all on top. It's going to be difficult for our opponent to win the race through the Dredger's Insight, because the Dredger's Insight just, it gains a lot of life. Our opponents hit us for a lot, but we're gaining like a little life here, a little life there. And I think that's going to help shift this race in our favor. Opponent gets in, hits us. Blade of the Oni. Well, let's draw a card, make a food, get a little deeper in the deck. Well, there's a Stitcher Supplier. Oh, we should have a good turn this turn. So cash grab. Mill a Silver Smote. Get back the land. Well, let's play the over and Tomb untapped. Get down the Stitcher. Can we just hit a Creeping Chill? Can we just hit a Creeping Chill? No. We do have the food, though. The Silver Smotes are also nice because they come into play untapped, so we can block with them. Yeah, let's just, I think we're fine. I think we can survive this turn. Let's just Haunted Dead, get back the prized amalgams. The food will be there next turn. So get in, hit ya. Down to 15. 2 prized amalgams. 2 life from Dredger's Insight. So we're back up to 9, and now we have a pretty impressive board. I mean, we definitely benefited from our opponent not drawing land number 3. Although, remember, we're on a mull to 5 too, so not that our deck is, you know, that against mulliganing. We mulligan quite a bit, but it's not like we had some banger draw. Well, prize amalgam triggering from there's the Creeping Chill. Well, I guess we just swing with everything. Yeah, no point in cracking the food since we can cast the Creeping Chill. So we just swing out with everything. If our opponent blocks, we just we're gonna Creeping Chill no matter what. Or if they block stuff, we Creeping Chill, we get back the Silver Smotes, which get back the prized amalgams. Anoint? Ooh, that's actually a good answer. Anoint with Affliction of prized amalgam. Well, that does get rid of it forever. Well, opponent goes to 11. We mill 3 with the Stitcher Supplier. And yeah, I mean, Creeping Chill ya. Down to 8. Silver Smote's coming back. And, I mean, we were kind of close to being dead for a minute, and we're back up to 14, and with our opponent on 2 lands, yeah, no coming back, and so what do we learn this week about Dregeless Dredge and Pioneer? And honestly, the deck kind of crushed it. We went 7-1 with the deck for an 88% match win percentage, which doesn't get much better than that. And I think this deck, oddly, it's very good, and I think it really lines up with the Pioneer meta right now. So as I was building this deck, I was going through the Pioneer meta and just looking at one thing, which is how much graveyard hate are popular decks playing. And right now, Pioneer's kind of in a place where we don't have a top-tier graveyard deck. There's no Lotus Field or Greasefang tier 1 in the meta right now. So people are kind of slacking with their graveyard hate. And as we saw in our games, if you cannot hate on our graveyard, this deck is really hard for most decks to stop. Our board just keeps coming back and keeps coming back. It can be very fast if we have a good draw, and it just overwhelms our opponent eventually. So because there's not a ton of graveyard hate right now, because there's not a tier 1 graveyard deck right now, I think the meta is in a perfect spot for Dredge to just absolutely crush people. We also got to see that we can beat some graveyard hate. We do have answers in our sideboard. We saw some main deck clean to dust in a random control matchup. Not a big deal. We were able to overcome that. My one word of advice, and you probably saw this in the video, we mulligan to 5 very consistently with the deck. I almost think it's like typically correct to mulligan to 5, because what happens with this deck is half of the deck we want in our hand, which is all the self-mill stuff, the Dredger's Insights, the cash grabs, the otherworldly gazes, and then half of our deck we don't want in our hand. It's actively bad in our hand, like Narc Amoeba or a Creeping Chill. Even Prized Amalgam, Silver Smote, like, yeah, we can cast them for 3 mana, but they're much better in our graveyard. So we often mulligan a couple of times, not because our hand is horrible, but because we have things in our hand that we'd rather have in our library so we can mill them later. So mulliganing is super important in this deck. If you just keep hands with a bunch of Prized Amalgams and Silver Smotes and Dark Amoebas, you're going to have a bad time. A 5-card hand with like a Stitcher Supplier, a Cash Grab, and a couple of lands is way better than a 7-card hand with some Silver Smotes and Haunted Deads and all that stuff in our hand. So keep that in mind. Really, really important to playing the deck. Also, the 2 new additions that we talked about earlier, they felt great. So Bloodghast, I was pretty sure it was going to be great, but we got to see time and time again. It's just another great way to trigger our Prized Amalgams. The haste mode is actually oddly relevant in the late game, where sometimes we can like just win the game by getting back all these hasty Bloodghast. So Bloodghast, really, really good in the deck. Dredger's Insight. Every time I play this card, I feel like it's busted. We played it in Standard, and for the first time, and I was like, oh my god, we're gaining like 15 life a game with this card. This card is insane, and like an Insidious Roots deck. And it did the same thing here. It is maybe the best self-mill card in the deck. I know it's a little slower than a Stitcher Supplier or Otherworldly Gaze, but it offers so much value sitting on the battlefield that I think it actually shifts a lot of matchups. You got to see some of our games where our opponent would be kind of aggro and get us a little bit low on life, and Dredger's Insight would just come down and slam the door shut. We get down to like 5, and next thing you know, a bunch of stuff comes in and out of the graveyard, and we're back up to like 13, and our opponent just can't kill us. So both of the new additions are really, really good. The last thing I'd say about the deck, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, I think the metagame's in a really good place right now, but if this deck takes off and everyone starts overloading on Leyline to the Void and Recipes, it will get a little bit worse again, but at least for right now, this feels like a really solid option for Explorer and Pioneer. Also worth mentioning, kind of cheap to put together. I know $168, 18 ticks, not quite budget Magic range, but actually not that far off. So anyway, that is Dredge for Pioneer. That's been our deck for today. Hopefully you enjoyed the graveyard shenanigans. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon.